The gentle hum of the world often goes unnoticed, lost amidst the cacophony of modern existence, yet for some, it was the very pulse of their being, a symphony of ancient wisdom playing out in the natural world. For centuries, their name has conjured images of mystery, power, and an unbreakable bond with the earth. They were the architects of ancient wisdom, the guardians of forgotten lore, and the very soul of Celtic society. But who truly were the Druids before the shadow of Rome stretched across their lands? Tonight, as the world sleeps, we delve into the quiet, powerful lives of the Druids, the enigmatic figures of ancient Celtic society, whose existence was a profound communion with the very fabric of nature itself, long before the thunder of Roman legions echoed across their sacred lands. What was it truly like to live a day, a lifetime, as one of these revered mystics, mediators, and masters of lore? Let us journey together through the mists of time to uncover the rhythms and revelations that shape their world. Before we step quietly into history's forgotten pages tonight, I want to take a moment to thank you. I'm RC, your host, and what you're about to hear isn't just a boring story. It's a soothing story for sleep, a piece of history crafted to help grown-ups relax, unwind, and even fall asleep fast. At Sleepless Boring Historian, we integrate a purely research-based approach to craft scripts that feel like a historical documentary wrapped in a relaxing bedtime story. You might notice other channels telling history stories, but here we do it differently, with intention, care, and a commitment to real value. So, before we begin tonight's journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, because even a single click makes all the difference in keeping history alive for our little Night Watchers family, but only if you enjoy thoughtful storytelling, boring history for sleep, nighttime stories for adults, and more. And hey, drop a comment letting me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see our little community of Night Watchers growing. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease quietly into history together. Chapter 1: Dawn in the Sacred Grove, Waking Rituals, Connection with Nature. To a time long past, a realm of verdant mystery and profound ancient wisdom. Settle in and let your mind drift back across the centuries, to Iron Age Britain, long before the thunder of Roman legions echoed across these lands. We embark upon a journey to witness a day in the life of a druid, not the fantastical sorcerer of later tales, but the intellectual and spiritual backbone of Celtic society. Our focus this morning rests upon the quietude of dawn in a sacred grove, known to the Celts as a nemeton, a clearing open to the sky, amidst towering oaks and ancient stones. This is where their profound connection with nature, the very essence of their being, began anew each day. The very first hint of light is now painting the eastern horizon, a faint pearlescent glow stealing through the dense canopy. Inside a small, unassuming thatch-roofed hut, nestled deep within the grove, a druid stirs from their slumber. Perhaps they are an elder, their face etched with the wisdom of countless sunrises and seasons, or a young apprentice, their mind eager to absorb the ancient lore. The air inside the hut is cool, carrying the earthy scent of packed soil, dried herbs, and perhaps the faint, lingering aroma of a dying hearth-fire. They rise with a deliberate slowness, movements born of a deep respect for the rhythms of the earth, not the hurried pace of a modern world. Their simple clothing, a rough woolen cloak or woven tartan, provides warmth against the morning chill. The practice of a druid was not merely an occasional ceremony, it was a way of life, with solitary rituals forming the very foundation of their daily existence. As the first faint light begins to touch the leaves, the druid steps outside their dwelling. The mist still hangs low, creating an ethereal veil across the grove, dampening sounds and focusing the senses. This is a time of waking rituals, a conscious act of attunement to the natural world. They might stand quietly, with hands uplifted towards the burgeoning light, a silent greeting to the sun as it prepares to grace the sky. Their purpose is to connect deeply with the land, allowing the energy of the earth to flow through them. A central element of Druidic practice, as noted by modern scholars, is the concept of Oren, a Welsh word often translated as flowing spirit or breath. It is considered the very source of poetic inspiration, and for many Druids, it represents a connection with the divine itself. As the Druid stands in the tranquil dawn, they might begin a silent invocation, perhaps a gentle, internal recitation of the word Oren as a mantra, inviting this flowing spirit to guide their thoughts and actions for the day. This practice is not about grand pronouncements, but about cultivating a receptive mind and spirit, allowing inner balance to settle before the day's demands begin. Central to this meditative state are breathwork techniques. The Druid might begin with the 3 deep breaths, a simple yet powerful clearing exercise tied to the elements of earth, sea, and sky. A deep breath, feeling the connection to the vastness of the sky above. Another, sensing the omnipresent sea of air and energy around them. And a third, grounding themselves firmly with the earth beneath their feet. This prepares the mind for deeper work, moving perhaps into a 4-fold breath, where the inhale, hold, exhale, and pause are all regulated to an equal count, fostering a profound sense of presence and stillness. Following this, the transition to quiet breath allows for a normal, natural breathing rhythm, where the breath ceases to be the focal point, enabling deeper immersion into contemplative states. In this state of quietude, the Druids' connection to their inner sacred grove becomes paramount. This isn't just a physical place, but a safe, internal sanctuary, a home base for spiritual exploration. As the Druid meditates, they may journey inward, visualizing this personal grove, perhaps imagining a specific key to access it, a symbol that helps prime the mind for entry. Within this inner realm, they might communicate with their spirit guides or allies, seeking wisdom or healing for themselves or others. It's a space where rituals can be performed on the inner planes, especially useful if external conditions prevent outer ceremonies. This internal journey highlights the deeply personal and experimental nature of Druidry, where the landscape of the soul mirrors the sacredness of the outer world. The details of this inner grove, though intensely personal and never to be outwardly revealed, serve as a private source of strength and guidance. With their spirit thus centered, the Druids' attention might turn to the practical, yet equally sacred, aspects of their craft, the preparation of sacred plant medicine. Their profound understanding of nature, their nature wisdom, was rooted in both learned knowledge and direct experience of the living earth. Druids were renowned as healers and herbalists, knowledgeable in the medicinal properties of plants. As they move through the grove, they do so with a deliberate awareness, a profound respect for the plant spirits. Before harvesting any plant, an offering would be made, a silent acknowledgement of gratitude to the plant's spirit, recognizing it not as a mere resource, but as a living entity with which they shared a relationship. They might meticulously select plants, such as mistletoe, believed to possess powerful magical and medicinal properties, cut with reverence from the boughs of an oak. Or vervain, known as firfan or sacred branch in Celtic, revered for its prophetic powers and versatile healing properties, to be gathered at specific transitional times like dawn or dusk for maximum efficacy. Other valuable plants included salago, fir club moss, samolus, water pimpernel, or valerian, prized for its calming effects. These were not random acts of foraging, but a deep, mindful engagement with the surrounding ecosystem understanding each plant's role and spirit. Back in their dwelling, or a designated consecrated space within the grove, the harvested plants undergo a process known as garbling. This isn't just a mundane cleaning of plant material, removing unwanted parts, insects, or foreign matter, but also a magical act. It's a moment for the Druid to lend their own energy to the plants, to attune with them and engage in a subtle energy exchange, ensuring the medicine will be potent and effective. The quiet grinding of dried herbs with a mortar and pestle might fill the early morning air as they prepare teas, tinctures, or healing salves, perhaps for their community or as gifts. The act itself is a meditation, a dance of hands and intention, weaving together the physical and metaphysical. Beyond the immediate needs of healing, the Druids' morning also encompassed a deep engagement with the cosmos and the cycles of nature. As astronomers and interpreters of omens, they possessed a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements and the natural world. The softening mist, the shifting patterns of light through the trees, the calls of birds, all were signs to be observed and interpreted. They might consult the sky for omens, or observe the flight patterns of birds, seeking guidance for personal or communal decisions, be it concerning migration, warfare, or harvest. Their knowledge of the natural world, plants, animals, and seasonal cycles provided a rich symbolic framework for these interpretations. They understood that dreams, too, were sacred realms where the boundaries between worlds blurred, offering insights into past lives or future possibilities. A critical aspect of Druidic knowledge, and one that demanded rigorous discipline, was its oral transmission. Unlike the Romans, who relied on written records, the Druids committed their vast body of lore entirely to memory. This training could last for as long as 20 years, a testament to the sheer volume of poetry, lore, history, philosophy, astronomy, and religious knowledge that had to be memorized. In the quiet of the morning, an elder Druid might begin the day by reviewing verses, or a young apprentice might be seen diligently committing new sections of lore to memory, perhaps with the aid of ogham sticks, a Celtic tree alphabet used for divination and as a mnemonic device. This dedication ensured that the sacred wisdom, laws, and customs of their people were preserved and passed down through generations without being diminished or losing their mystical essence by being written down. The Druids were revered figures, not only spiritual leaders, but also judges, advisors to chieftains, and scholars. Their authority was so profound that they were said to be able to stop battles. Their practices were deeply interwoven with sacred sites like stone circles, which, although often built long before the Druids, were incorporated into their rituals and understood for their astronomical alignments, marking solstices and equinoxes. While a full communal ceremony might be reserved for seasonal festivals or significant events, a solitary Druid in the early morning might still visit a nearby standing stone, a quiet communion with the ancient energies imbued within these megaliths. The presence of rivers, springs, and wells also held deep significance, viewed as sacred sources of life and wisdom. It is crucial to remember that much of our understanding of ancient Druids comes from Roman and Greek accounts, which were often biased and used for propaganda, particularly the sensational claims of human sacrifice. Modern scholarship largely dismisses these assertions as unverified, focusing instead on the Druids' roles as profound philosophers and respected societal leaders. Their emphasis was on a cyclical view of life, death, and rebirth, believing in the immortality and transmigration of the soul. This core belief, that souls do not perish but pass from one body to another, was seen as the greatest incentive to valor, as it cast aside the fear of death. As the sun fully ascends above the horizon, dappling the grove with golden light, and burning off the last wisps of mist, the Druids' morning rituals draw to a close. They are now grounded, recentered, and attuned to the subtle energies of the natural world. The air is filled with the fresh scent of dew-kissed leaves, the vibrant calls of birds, and the quiet hum of life awakening. This calm, meditative start allows them to carry a sense of tranquility and deep connection throughout their day, whether it involves advising their community, resolving disputes, sharing knowledge with apprentices, or simply living in harmony with the living earth. Their life is a continuous tapestry woven with reverence for nature, dedication to wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to their unique spiritual path, a legacy that continues to inspire and resonate even today. Chapter 2: Preparing Ritual Herbs and Tools. Let your mind drift back across the centuries, to Iron Age Britain, long before the thunder of Roman legions echoed across these lands. We embark upon a journey to witness a day in the life of a druid, not the fantastical sorcerer of later tales, but the intellectual and spiritual backbone of Celtic society, deeply attuned to the rhythms of the natural world. Our focus this morning rests upon the quietude of dawn in a sacred grove, known to the Celts as a nemeton, a clearing open to the sky, amidst towering oaks and ancient stones. This is where their profound connection with nature, the very essence of their being, began anew each day. The very first hint of light is now painting the eastern horizon, a faint pearlescent glow stealing through the dense canopy. Inside a small, unassuming thatch-roofed hut, nestled deep within the grove, a druid stirs from their slumber. Perhaps they are an elder, their face etched with the wisdom of countless sunrises and seasons, or a young apprentice, their mind eager to absorb the ancient lore. The air inside the hut is cool, carrying the earthy scent of packed soil, dried herbs, and perhaps the faint, lingering aroma of a dying hearth fire. They rise with a deliberate slowness, movements born of a deep respect for the rhythms of the earth, not the hurried pace of a modern world. Their simple clothing, a rough woolen cloak or woven tartan, provides warmth against the morning chill. As the world outside slowly awakens, the druid turns their attention inward, commencing the vital morning rituals that prepare both body and spirit for the day ahead. A central element of druidic practice, as noted by modern scholars, is the concept of oren, a Welsh word often translated as flowing spirit or breath. It is considered the very source of poetic inspiration, and for many druids, it represents a connection with the divine itself. As the druid stands in the tranquil dawn, they might begin a silent invocation, perhaps a gentle, internal recitation of the word oren as a mantra, inviting this flowing spirit to guide their thoughts and actions for the day. This practice is not about grand pronouncements, but about cultivating a receptive mind and spirit, allowing inner balance to settle before the day's demands begin. Central to this meditative state are breathwork techniques. The druid might begin with the 3 deep breaths, a simple yet powerful clearing exercise tied to the elements of earth, sea, and sky. A deep breath, feeling the connection to the vastness of the sky above. Another, sensing the omnipresent sea of air and energy around them. And a third, grounding themselves firmly with the earth beneath their feet. This prepares the mind for deeper work, moving perhaps into a 4-fold breath, where the inhale, hold, exhale, and pause are all regulated to an equal count, fostering a profound sense of presence and stillness. Following this, the transition to quiet breath allows for a normal, natural breathing rhythm, where the breath ceases to be the focal point, enabling deeper immersion into contemplative states. These methods are foundational, a daily training for the mind, enabling connection to the spirit world and enhancing overall practice. In this state of quietude, the Druids' connection to their inner sacred grove becomes paramount. This isn't just a physical place, but a safe, internal sanctuary, a home base for spiritual exploration. As the Druid meditates, they may journey inward, visualizing this personal grove, perhaps imagining a specific key to access it, a symbol that helps prime the mind for entry. Within this inner realm, they might communicate with their spirit guides or allies, seeking wisdom or healing for themselves or others. It's a space where rituals can be performed on the inner planes, especially useful if external conditions prevent outer ceremonies. This internal journey highlights the deeply personal and experimental nature of Druidry, where the landscape of the soul mirrors the sacredness of the outer world. The details of this inner grove, though intensely personal and never to be outwardly revealed, serve as a private source of strength and guidance, safeguarded by silence. This internal preparation is essential for protecting oneself from daily energetic onslaught and fostering deep connection. With their spirit thus centered, the Druids' attention might turn to the practical, yet equally sacred, aspects of their craft, the preparation of sacred plant medicine. Their profound understanding of nature, their nature wisdom, was rooted in both learned knowledge and direct experience of the living earth. Druids were renowned as healers and herbalists, knowledgeable in the medicinal properties of plants. As they move through the grove, they do so with a deliberate awareness, a profound respect for the plant spirits. Before harvesting any plant, an offering would be made, a silent acknowledgement of gratitude to the plant's spirit, recognizing it not as a mere resource, but as a living entity with which they shared a relationship. This practice reflects an animistic worldview, viewing plants as individuals with whom to build relationships, not merely objects to manage. Back in their dwelling, or a designated consecrated space within the grove, the harvested plants undergo a process known as garbling. This isn't just a mundane cleaning of plant material, removing unwanted parts, insects, or foreign matter, but also a magical act. It's a moment for the Druid to lend their own energy to the plants, to attune with them and engage in a subtle energy exchange, ensuring the medicine will be potent and effective. The quiet grinding of dried herbs with a mortar and pestle might fill the early morning air as they prepare teas, tinctures, or healing salves, perhaps for their community or as gifts. The act itself is a meditation, a dance of hands and intention, weaving together the physical and metaphysical. The Druids' knowledge of plants extended to various uses. Mugwort, for instance, was valued for its properties in relieving menstrual pain, regulating cycles, and aiding digestive disorders and sleep disturbances. It was also believed to purify spaces and promote spiritual visions, often burned as incense in rituals. Belladonna, while recognized for its potent toxicity, was cautiously used by Druids in small, controlled amounts to induce deep trance states and spiritual revelation, coating animal skins for ritualistic experiences. Its dual nature symbolized the tension between the sacred and the dangerous. Verbena, or vervain, was considered a sacred plant, its name derived from the Celtic ferfan, meaning sacred branch. It was used for prophecy and divination, and its harvesting was governed by strict rules, often gathered at dawn or dusk to maximize its efficacy. Fennel was revered for its healing properties, used to alleviate coughs, bladder issues, and even as an antitoxic for venomous bites. Its diuretic and laxative qualities made it a cleansing agent, and it was used in purification rituals. The ancient Druids also famously used mistletoe for both magical and medicinal purposes, though this connection is primarily noted by Pliny the Elder. Beyond these, other plants like burdock, dandelion, and birch sap were used for tonics, and herbs like agrimony and juniper berries were employed for cleansing and perfuming ritual spaces. Beyond the immediate needs of healing, the Druids' mourning also encompassed a deep engagement with the cosmos and the cycles of nature. As astronomers and interpreters of omens, they possessed a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements and the natural world. The softening mist, the shifting patterns of light through the trees, the calls of birds, all were signs to be observed and interpreted. They might consult the sky for omens, or observe the flight patterns of birds, seeking guidance for personal or communal decisions, be it concerning migration, warfare, or harvest. Their knowledge of the natural world, plants, animals, and seasonal cycles provided a rich symbolic framework for these interpretations. They understood that dreams, too, were sacred realms where the boundaries between worlds blurred, offering insights into past lives or future possibilities, and were often sought through fasting, meditation, and consecrated locations. A critical aspect of Druidic knowledge, and one that demanded rigorous discipline, was its oral transmission. Unlike the Romans, who relied on written records, the Druids committed their vast body of lore entirely to memory. This training could last for as long as 20 years, a testament to the sheer volume of poetry, lore, history, philosophy, astronomy, and religious knowledge that had to be memorized. In the quiet of the morning, an elder Druid might begin the day by reviewing verses, or a young apprentice might be seen diligently committing new sections of lore to memory, perhaps with the aid of ogham sticks, a Celtic tree alphabet used for divination and as a mnemonic device. This dedication ensured that the sacred wisdom, laws, and customs of their people were preserved and passed down through generations without being diminished or losing their mystical essence by being written down. This intense focus on memory made them the secretive and wise keepers of knowledge, reinforcing their power within Celtic society. It is crucial to remember that much of our understanding of ancient Druids comes from Roman and Greek accounts, which were often biased and used for propaganda, particularly the sensational claims of human sacrifice. Modern scholarship largely dismisses these assertions as unverified, focusing instead on the Druids' roles as profound philosophers and respected societal leaders, arbiters of truth and justice, who could even intervene to stop battles between armies. Their emphasis was on a cyclical view of life, death, and rebirth, believing in the immortality and transmigration of the soul. This core belief, that souls do not perish but pass from one body to another, was seen as the greatest incentive to valor, as it cast aside the fear of death. As the sun fully ascends above the horizon, dappling the grove with golden light and burning off the last wisps of mist, the Druids' morning rituals draw to a close. They are now grounded, recentered, and attuned to the subtle energies of the natural world. The air is filled with the fresh scent of dew-kissed leaves, the vibrant calls of birds, and the quiet hum of life awakening. This calm, meditative start allows them to carry a sense of tranquility and deep connection throughout their day, whether it involves advising their community, resolving disputes, sharing knowledge with apprentices, or simply living in harmony with the living earth. Their life is a continuous tapestry woven with reverence for nature, dedication to wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to their unique spiritual path, a legacy that continues to inspire and resonate even today. Chapter 3: Reading the Sky and Forest for Omens. Let your mind drift back across the centuries, to Iron Age Britain, a land of verdant mystery and profound ancient wisdom. We embark upon a journey to witness a day in the life of a Druid, not the fantastical sorcerer of later tales, but the intellectual and spiritual backbone of Celtic society, deeply attuned to the rhythms of the earth and the whispers of the cosmos. Our focus this evening rests upon the quietude of reading the sky and forest for omens, a practice central to their understanding of the world and their place within it. The early dawn in a sacred grove, known to the Celts as a nemeton, is a scene of profound tranquility. Imagine the towering oaks, their ancient, gnarled branches silhouetted against the pre-dawn sky, with wisps of mist clinging to the ground and weaving through the sparse light. The air is still, carrying the crisp scent of damp earth and dried herbs, perhaps a faint, lingering aroma of a dying hearth fire from a small, unassuming thatch-roofed hut nestled deep within the grove. The only sounds are the gentle rustle of leaves and the faint chirping of awakening birds, a natural symphony accompanying the awakening world. A druid stirs from their slumber, their simple clothing a rough woolen cloak or woven tartan providing warmth against the morning chill. Their movements are deliberate, born of a deep respect for the rhythms of the earth, a stark contrast to the hurried pace of our modern world. For the Druids, connection to nature was not merely an act, but the very essence of their being, a relationship that began anew with each day. This deep communion with the natural world was the foundation of their wisdom, which they believed flowed from the living earth itself. At the very heart of Druidic practice was the concept of Oren, a Welsh word often translated as flowing spirit or breath. This vital force was considered the source of poetic inspiration, and for many Druids, represented a profound connection with the divine. As the Druid stands in the tranquil dawn, they might begin a silent invocation, perhaps a gentle, internal recitation of the word Oren as a mantra, inviting this flowing spirit to guide their thoughts and actions for the day. This practice was not about grand pronouncements, but about cultivating a receptive mind and spirit, allowing inner balance to settle before the day's demands began. Central to this meditative state were breathwork techniques, simple yet powerful exercises designed to clear the mind and deepen presence. The Druid might begin with the 3 deep breaths, feeling a profound connection to the vastness of the sky above, sensing the omnipresent sea of air and energy around them, and finally grounding themselves firmly with the earth beneath their feet. This prepared the mind for deeper work, moving perhaps into a 4-fold breath, where the inhale, hold, exhale, and pause were all regulated to an equal count, fostering a profound sense of stillness. Following this, the transition to quiet breath allowed for a normal, natural breathing rhythm, where the breath ceased to be the focal point, enabling deeper immersion into contemplative states. These practices were not just physical exercises, they were spiritual pathways to align the inner self with the outer world. In this state of quietude, the Druids' connection to their inner sacred grove became paramount. This was not merely a physical place, but a safe, internal sanctuary, a home base for spiritual exploration. As the Druid meditated, they might journey inward, visualizing this personal grove, perhaps imagining a specific key or symbol to access it, priming the mind for entry. Within this inner realm, they might communicate with their spirit guides or allies, seeking wisdom or healing for themselves or others, or even performing rituals on the inner planes, especially when external conditions prevented outer ceremonies. This internal journey highlighted the deeply personal and experimental nature of Druidry, where the landscape of the soul mirrored the sacredness of the outer world. The details of this inner grove, though intensely personal and never to be outwardly revealed, served as a private source of strength and guidance, sealed with silence. Beyond inner contemplation, the Druids' mourning also encompassed a deep engagement with the cosmos and the cycles of nature. As astronomers and interpreters of omens, they possessed a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements and the natural world. The softening mist, the shifting patterns of light through the trees, The calls of birds all were signs to be observed and interpreted. They might consult the sky for omens, or observe the flight patterns of birds, seeking guidance for personal or communal decisions, be it concerning migration, warfare, or harvest. Their extensive knowledge of the natural world of plants, animals, and seasonal cycles provided a rich symbolic framework for these interpretations. For instance, a dream about a salmon might signify wisdom, while one about a boar could symbolize bravery or aggression in battle. Dreams, too, were considered sacred realms where the boundaries between worlds blurred, offering profound insights into past lives or future possibilities. The Druids believed that the soul could transcend the limits of time and space during sleep, encountering spirits, ancestors, and even gods. These visions were not dismissed as mere fantasies, but were considered real experiences in alternate realities, offering guidance for both personal and communal decision-making. They employed various methods to induce meaningful dreams, such as fasting, sensory isolation, meditation with sacred plants, and sleeping in consecrated locations. Historical accounts suggest ceremonial preparations before sleep, including prayers, chants, and the use of herbs to enhance dream recall or alter consciousness. A notable practice was dream incubation, where individuals focused on specific questions before sleeping to receive symbolic answers in their dreams. Certain times of the year, particularly the Celtic festivals like Samhain October 31st, Imbolc February 1st, Beltane May 1st, and Lughnasadh August 1st, were considered especially auspicious for prophetic dreaming, as the veil between worlds was believed to be thinnest during these transitions in the natural year. A critical aspect of Druidic knowledge, and one that demanded rigorous discipline, was its oral transmission. Unlike the Romans, who relied on written records, the Druids committed their vast body of lore entirely to memory. This training could last for as long as 20 years, a testament to the sheer volume of poetry, lore, history, philosophy, astronomy, and religious knowledge that had to be memorized. In the quiet of the morning, an elder Druid might begin the day by reviewing verses, or a young apprentice might be seen diligently committing new sections of lore to memory, perhaps with the aid of ogham sticks, a Celtic tree alphabet used for divination and as a mnemonic device. This dedication ensured that the sacred wisdom, laws, and customs of their people were preserved and passed down through generations without being diminished or losing their mystical essence by being written down. This also meant their knowledge remained exclusive and mysterious to outsiders. The Druids also served as healers and herbalists, possessing a profound understanding of the medicinal properties of plants. Their nature wisdom was deeply rooted in both learned knowledge and direct, experimental connection with the living earth. As they moved through the grove, they did so with a deliberate awareness, a profound respect for the plant spirits. Before harvesting any plant, an offering would be made, a silent acknowledgement of gratitude to the plant spirit, recognizing it not as a mere resource, but as a living entity with which they shared a relationship. For instance, verbena or vervain, whose name derived from the Celtic firfan, meaning sacred branch, was an emblematic plant, considered sacred with prophetic powers and often used for divination. It was harvested at specific transitional times, like dawn and dusk, when neither the sun nor the moon dominated the sky, to ensure its maximum magical and medicinal efficacy. Sacred sites played a crucial role in their practices. Beyond the personal nemetons, larger stone circles, like Stonehenge, though built long before Druidic times, they were likely incorporated into Druidic rituals, served as important gathering places for ceremonies, especially those marking key astronomical events like solstices and equinoxes. The tour's unique spiral path at Glastonbury, for example, was seen as a ceremonial labyrinth for initiations and vision quests that could last several days, involving fasting, meditation, and communing with nature spirits. Other sites, like certain wells and springs, were considered healing or prophetic sources, sometimes believed to have sprung up spontaneously where someone was beheaded. Incubation practices involved sleeping near these wells to seek omens or signs of recovery or death. The very landscape was a living, breathing entity, constantly communicating with those attuned to its language. The philosophical underpinnings of Druidism were equally profound. A cardinal doctrine they sought to teach was that souls do not die, but after death pass from one body to another. This belief in the immortality and transmigration of the soul was considered the greatest incentive to Valor, as it cast aside the fear of death. This cyclical view of life, death, and rebirth formed a core part of their understanding of the universe. It is important to remember that much of our understanding of these ancient Druids comes from Roman and Greek accounts. These sources, while providing invaluable glimpses, were often biased and used for propaganda, particularly the sensational claims of human sacrifice. Modern scholarship largely dismisses these assertions as unverified, focusing instead on the Druids' roles as profound philosophers and respected societal leaders, legal experts, scholars, and advisors to tribal chieftains. They were renowned for their ability to interpret the will of the gods and serve as intermediaries between the mortal and divine worlds, often intervening between warring armies to stop conflict. Their authority extended into education, training the sons of noble families in disciplines like philosophy and astronomy. The legacy of the ancient Druids endures, inspiring modern movements that seek to revive and reinterpret their teachings. Modern Druidry is a nature-based spiritual path that emphasizes connecting deeply with nature and one's inner self. Just as ancient Druids sought wisdom from the natural world, contemporary practitioners engage in meditation, breathwork, and the exploration of their inner sacred grove, a personal sanctuary for spiritual exploration and connection. They strive to build knowledge of their local ecosystems, recognizing plants and animals as persons with whom to have relationship rather than objects to manage. Many modern Druids also actively participate in environmental conservation efforts, such as planting and tending sacred groves, uniting spirituality with sustainability. As the soft glow of morning spreads fully over the ancient grove, casting long, gentle shadows and highlighting the vibrant greens and earthy browns of the awakening forest, the scene emphasizes the enduring tranquility and timelessness of the natural world. The wisdom of the Druids, derived from their deep listening to the sky, the forest, and the subtle currents of existence, continues to offer a path to profound understanding and a peaceful connection with the world around us. Let these ancient insights guide you into a restful contemplation as you too find harmony with the hidden messages of nature. Chapter 4: A Visit from the Village Chief. As the morning light deepened within the sacred grove, that Nemeton, a clearing open to the endless sky and held in profound reverence by the Celtic peoples, a new presence stirs the air. The tranquility that enveloped the Druid during their solitary dawn rituals, a tapestry woven of soft mist and awakening birdsong, now gently shifts, punctuated by the unmistakable sounds of approaching footsteps, deliberate and measured, a signal of an arrival of great significance. It is the village chief, drawing near, his presence a clear testament to the Druid's indispensable place at the very core of Celtic society. Imagine him now, perhaps a figure of quiet strength, his shoulders broad beneath a cloak woven of coarse wool, adorned perhaps with simple bronze fasteners glinting softly in the dappled light filtering through the ancient oaks. His face, weathered by seasons and etched with the responsibilities of leadership, bears an expression of earnest respect as he steps into the hallowed clearing. With him, there might be a small retinue, perhaps a couple of trusted elders, or a young, silent attendant, each moving with a deference that speaks volumes of the Druid's unique standing. For the Druids were far more than merely spiritual guides. They were, in essence, the very intellectual and judicial backbone of their communities, figures of immense influence whose counsel was sought even by kings and chieftains. Their authority was so universally acknowledged, so deeply ingrained in the fabric of Celtic life, that ancient accounts speak of their power to halt a battle simply by stepping into the fray, a vivid and compelling illustration of the profound respect they commanded. This was not power enforced by arms, but by an unwavering moral and intellectual authority, a gravitas rooted in wisdom and a deep understanding of the world, both seen and unseen. As the chief approaches, he pauses, perhaps waiting for a subtle gesture from the Druid, a silent invitation to draw closer to the heart of the grove. The air, though still cool with the morning, seems to hum with an unspoken weight, the gravity of the matters that have brought the chief here. The Druid, having concluded their personal dawn contemplations, their spirit attuned to the flow of Owen, that vibrant, flowing spirit, or breath, that is the very source of inspiration and connection to the divine, now turns their full attention to the visitor. There is a calm, unwavering presence about the Druid, a quiet strength that instantly reassures, a sense of deep listening that encourages openness. The chief begins to speak, his voice a low murmur, carefully chosen words detailing the concerns that weigh upon the village. Perhaps it is a dispute between families over land boundaries or rights to a water source, or a matter of custom that has become entangled in new complexities. The Druid would listen with an unwavering intensity, their gaze steady, their mind already sifting through the intricate tapestry of Celtic laws and customs, drawing upon a profound understanding that transcended mere legal precedent. They might silently invoke the wisdom of the ancestors, those who walked these lands before, whose spirits were believed to dwell within the very earth and ancient trees. Or perhaps they would subtly interpret omens, observing the subtle shifts in the wind, the call of a distant bird, or the way the morning light catches the leaves of a particular tree, drawing meaning from the natural world that was a constant source of divine insight. Their response would not be rushed, but delivered with the deliberate pacing of one whose thoughts are deeply considered, weighing every word, every nuance. Indeed, it was commonplace for kings and leaders across Celtic lands to defer their most significant judgments to their Druids. This practice elevated the Druids to the role of a critical strategic advisor in nearly all communal undertakings. Their advice was not limited to matters of justice or spiritual well-being. It extended into the very practical rhythms of daily life. Decisions concerning the optimal timing for planting crops, for instance, or when the harvest should begin, were guided by the Druids' deep and meticulous knowledge of natural cycles and their acute observations of celestial movements. They understood the intricate dance of the sun and moon, the subtle shift of the seasons, and the precise moments when the earth was most receptive to human effort. This profound grasp of astronomy, combined with their spiritual insight, ensured that the community lived in harmony with the natural world, its prosperity deeply interwoven with the Druids' guidance. This pervasive influence of the Druids was fundamentally rooted in their role as the revered keepers of ancient Celtic wisdom, history, and culture. Unlike the Romans, who meticulously documented their knowledge on scrolls and tablets, the Druids adhered to an exceptionally rigorous oral tradition. Their vast body of lore encompassing poetry, intricate laws, detailed historical accounts, profound philosophical tenets, celestial observations, and complex religious knowledge was committed entirely to memory. This was not a passive memorization, but an active, living transmission, ensuring that each generation became a living vessel for the accumulated knowledge of their ancestors. This deliberate choice to avoid committing their sacred wisdom to written form served multiple, deeply considered purposes. Firstly, it was believed to preserve the inherent power and mystical essence of their teachings. The written word, they perhaps felt, might diminish the potency of knowledge that was meant to be experienced, chanted, and deeply internalized. Secondly, it prevented their profound insights from becoming common property, ensuring that such sacred knowledge remained within the hands of those who had demonstrated the dedication and spiritual maturity to wield it responsibly. This exclusivity over knowledge was, undeniably, a significant source of their revered status and enduring power within Celtic society. Lastly, and perhaps most crucially for their pedagogical methods, this oral tradition compelled their young apprentices to cultivate an extraordinary, almost superhuman, faculty of memory. The arduous training, which could last for as long as 20 years, was a testament to the sheer volume of information to be mastered and the diligence required of each student. It was a path of profound personal transformation, where the mind itself became the ultimate repository of wisdom. The chief's visit might extend beyond the immediate practicalities, delving into more profound philosophical matters, or the interpretation of complex cosmological beliefs that bound their world together. The Druids were widely considered philosophers, individuals who delved into obscure and profound subjects. Their intellectual pursuits were not confined to the earthly realm. They embraced the vastness of the cosmos, studying the movements of the stars and their influence on the terrestrial world. They contemplated the very nature of existence, seeking to understand the underlying principles that governed the universe. A cornerstone of their philosophical teachings was the doctrine of the immortality of the soul and metempsychosis. This belief posited that souls do not perish, but after death, pass from one body to another after a fixed number of years. This psychical view of life, death, and rebirth was not merely a comforting myth. It was believed to be the greatest incentive to valor in battle, for if the soul could not die, then the fear of death itself was cast aside. Such a profound belief system fostered a fearlessness and resolve that mystified their Roman adversaries, who often misinterpreted it as barbaric recklessness. The Druids taught their youth about the order of nature and the power and might of the immortal gods, embedding a deep respect for both the natural and divine realms within their followers. This rich tapestry of philosophical insight, combined with their practical advisory roles, underpinned their central importance in fostering a shared heritage and unifying values among the diverse Celtic tribes. In this moment, as the village chief departs, a sense of quiet affirmation settles over the sacred grove. The low murmurs of their conversation fade into the rustle of leaves, and the ancient stillness returns. Yet, the air now carries a renewed sense of purpose, a quiet strength born of the Druid's presence and counsel. The Druid, in this single visit, acted not only as a mediator of disputes and a guide for prosperity, but also as an active, indispensable force, upholding the delicate balance and ensuring the enduring continuity of Celtic society in the face of both unseen currents and the very real, encroaching shadows of the Roman world. Their wisdom, passed down through generations not on parchment, but in the living memory and spirit, continued to nourish the roots of their people, a timeless commitment echoing through the ancient forests. Chapter 5. Teaching Young Apprentices Ancient Wisdom. As the sun, having shed its early mists, climbed higher into the Iron Age sky, its gentle warmth began to illuminate a quieter, yet profoundly vital, aspect of Druidic life. The sacred grove, previously a sanctuary for solitary dawn rituals, would now transform into a living classroom, a space dedicated to the meticulous and enduring task of teaching young apprentices ancient wisdom. This was no casual transfer of fleeting information, no simple recitation of facts from readily available texts. Instead, it was a laborious and time-consuming endeavor, a deep and transformative immersion into the very essence of Celtic knowledge that could, for some, span as long as 2 decades. Unlike many contemporary societies, particularly the burgeoning Roman Empire to the south, the Druids adhered to a strict oral tradition. Their vast body of lore-encompassing poetry, intricate laws, detailed historical accounts, profound philosophical tenets, celestial observations, and complex religious knowledge was committed entirely to memory and passed down by word of mouth from one generation to the next. This intentional choice to not commit their sacred wisdom to written form served multiple, deeply considered purposes. It was believed to preserve the inherent power and mystical essence of their teachings. The written word, they perhaps felt, might diminish the potency of knowledge that was meant to be experienced, chanted, and deeply internalized. Furthermore, this practice prevented their profound insights from becoming common property, ensuring that such sacred knowledge remained within the hands of those who had demonstrated the dedication and spiritual maturity to wield it responsibly. This exclusivity over knowledge was, undeniably, a significant source of their revered status and enduring power within Celtic society. But perhaps most crucially for their pedagogical methods, this oral tradition compelled their young apprentices to cultivate an extraordinary, almost superhuman, faculty of memory. Imagine, if you will, the quiet intensity of an apprentice, perhaps a young man or woman sent by their family due to the great rewards and privileges afforded to Druids, diligently committing new sections of lore to memory. They might pace softly through the dappled sunlight of the grove, their lips silently forming ancient verses, their minds a living library. Sometimes, they might have used ogham sticks, a Celtic tree alphabet used not only for divination, but also as a mnemonic device, each carved symbol a key to unlocking vast stores of knowledge within their minds. This arduous mental training, lasting for as long as 20 years, was a testament to the sheer volume of information to be mastered and the profound diligence required of each student. It was a path of profound personal transformation, where the mind itself became the ultimate repository of wisdom. The very word Druid itself is thought by some to derive from Celtic terms meaning thorough knowledge, or those with very great knowledge, or even more poetically, knowledge of the oak, or knower of the oak, reflecting their deep connection to the sacred groves where much of their learning took place. The curriculum imparted by the Druids was as comprehensive as it was profound, spanning both intellectual and practical disciplines. At its heart lay a deep exploration of philosophy and cosmology. They were renowned as philosophers, individuals who delved into obscure and profound subjects, seeking to understand the fundamental principles that govern the universe and human existence. A cornerstone of their philosophical teachings was the doctrine of the immortality of the soul and metempsychosis. This belief posited that souls do not perish, but after a fixed number of years, pass from one body to another in a continuous cycle of life, death, and rebirth. This cyclical view was not merely a comforting myth. It was taught as the greatest incentive to valor in battle, for if the soul could not die, then the fear of death itself was cast aside. Young apprentices would spend countless hours contemplating the vastness of the cosmos, studying the movements of the stars, their influence on the terrestrial world, and the power and might of the immortal gods. Their remarkably advanced understanding of astronomy guided their ritual calendar, ensuring the community lived in harmony with the natural world and its cycles, knowing the optimal times for planting and harvest. Beyond the purely intellectual, the Druids were the revered keepers of ancient Celtic wisdom, history, and culture. They meticulously preserved and transmitted the historical narratives, the complex web of Celtic laws and customs, and the cultural heritage of their people through their extensive oral tradition. They were judicial authorities, settling disputes and interpreting laws, with their views often being final even for kings. They held immense social power, including the authority to excommunicate individuals from religious festivals, rendering them social outcasts. Apprentices were therefore rigorously trained in the intricacies of these laws and the nuances of their application, understanding their vital role as arbiters of truth and justice within their clans. Practical skills were also meticulously taught, preparing the apprentices for their diverse roles in the community. They developed strong oratorical abilities, essential for commanding respect and communicating complex concepts with clarity and authority. Imagine the young druid, practicing their voice in the quiet of the grove, learning to articulate wisdom with a calm, compelling presence. Training also included mediation and conflict resolution, preparing them for their vital role in settling disputes both within families and between tribes. Indeed, the Druids' authority was so universally acknowledged that ancient accounts speak of their power to halt a battle simply by stepping into the fray. This was power enforced not by arms, but by an unwavering moral and intellectual authority, a gravitas rooted in profound wisdom. A significant part of the practical curriculum involved divinatory practices and healing. Apprentices would learn to observe the natural world with acute attention, discerning prophetic insights from the flight and calls of birds, a common method of discerning the future. Dream interpretation held a pivotal place in their divinatory repertoire. Dreams were not dismissed as mere fantasies. They were viewed as fascinating gateways between our waking world and other worlds that we can't normally see, offering glimpses of divine secrets and guidance for personal and communal decision-making. Apprentices were taught various rigorous methods to induce meaningful dreams, including fasting for ritual purification, sensory isolation, meditation with sacred plants, or sleeping in consecrated locations such as cave sanctuaries, forest groves, or areas near water. Historical accounts suggest ceremonial preparations before sleep, including prayers, chants, and the use of herbs like mugwort, believed to enhance dream recall or subtly alter consciousness. The interpretation of these often complex symbolic visions was a crucial skill, demanding the Druids' expertise to translate mystical experiences into actionable guidance. Beyond divination, herbalism was a vast and critical domain of Druidic knowledge. Tracing its heritage back to the Bronze Age, their understanding of plants was profound, recognizing their life-sustaining and sacred essence. While ancient writings specifically recorded the Druids' use of only 4 plants for magical and medicinal purposes: mistletoe, vervain, saligo, likely fir club moss, and samolus, possibly water pimpernel, their true pharmacopoeia was far more extensive. This broader understanding is pieced together by correlating archaeobotanical records of plants prevalent in their Western European source lands with the writings of contemporary herbalists like Dioscorides and references to herbs found in old Celtic tales. Valerian, prized for its calming effect, would certainly have been among them. Apprentices would learn to forage ethically, prepare healing salves and potent teas, and understand the animistic worldview that recognized and honored plant spirits. They would learn to talk directly with herbs, allowing the plants themselves to provide intuitive instruction on their use, understanding that the spirit of plants imbued not only live individuals, but also the wood harvested from them, as seen in the crafting of wands and staves. The learning environment for these apprentices was as deeply integrated with nature as their philosophy. Their classrooms were often the sacred groves, or nemetons, clearings open to the sky amidst towering oaks and ancient stones, held in great awe by the people. Here, under the rustling canopy of ancient trees, they would absorb the wisdom passed down through generations. Sometimes, their instruction would take place in secluded, uninhabited woods, or even within the quietude of cave sanctuaries, places where the boundaries between the visible and unseen worlds were believed to blur, fostering an environment ripe for spiritual and intellectual growth. The quiet sounds of the forest, the distant calls of birds, the gentle rustle of leaves, the murmur of a nearby stream would form the backdrop to their intense studies, a constant reminder of the living world with which they sought profound connection. The culmination of this long and arduous training prepared Druidic apprentices for their ultimate purpose, to become priests or priestesses, teachers themselves, and leaders capable of guiding their communities. They combined their diverse skills to lead groves, small gatherings for ritual practice, and act as pillars of cultural and religious identity, fostering a sense of shared heritage and values among the diverse Celtic tribes. This enduring legacy of education highlights the deep commitment to knowledge, wisdom, and community service that defined the Druidic path. Indeed, modern Druid orders reflect this ancient structure of progression through different stages of learning. While not a direct continuation of ancient practices, contemporary Druidry draws inspiration from a wide range of cultural sources, including Celtic, Norse, and Hellenistic traditions, always maintaining its core focus on exploring spirituality through nature. For many, this journey begins with the bard stage, where the emphasis is on creative skills, poetry, storytelling, music, and art. It is through these bardic arts that individuals learn to share wisdom and to inspire awe, that vibrant, flowing spirit, or breath, that is the very source of inspiration and connection to the divine. The sharing of creative gifts often takes place in an Eisteddfod, a bardic circle where individuals offer their songs, stories, and art to the community. Following this, the ovate stage focuses on deeper engagement with divination, prophecy, and healing. This involves a profound exploration of natural cycles, the subtle energies of the earth, and the interconnectedness of all life. Finally, the Druid stage serves as the integration point, where all the earlier skills are woven together, culminating in a well-rounded spiritual and intellectual leader capable of serving their community with holistic wisdom and profound insight. This multi-stage approach, often involving structured training programs with reading materials, activities, and mentorship, and sometimes culminating in written examinations or reviews, ensures a thorough and deeply personal immersion in the Druidic way. As the sun continues its silent arc across the sky, casting ever-lengthening shadows, the echoes of these ancient lessons resonate through the ages. The quiet dedication of the young apprentice, memorizing the wisdom of their ancestors beneath the ancient oaks, laid the foundation for a society deeply connected to its past, its present, and its natural world. This profound commitment to knowledge, wisdom, and community service, cultivated through rigorous training and a deep reverence for the unseen, remains the enduring legacy of the Druidic path, then as now, the timeless rhythm that invites us to listen, learn, and grow. Chapter 6, Midday Meditation by the River. As the sun, a blazing orb of gold, ascended towards its zenith, painting the verdant canopy with dappled light, a gentle shift would occur in the ancient rhythm of the Druid's day. The intensity of morning rituals, the meticulous preparation of sacred plants, and the profound, demanding task of imparting ancient wisdom to young apprentices would naturally yield to a quieter, more introspective phase. A deep, intuitive calling would draw the Druid away from the bustling hum of communal life towards a tranquil haven, a place of profound solitude and communion, the winding river, shimmering under the midday sun. The air, now warmed by the climbing sun, carried the earthy scent of damp soil, the sweet perfume of wildflowers, and the subtle, fresh aroma of the flowing water. The only sounds were the soft rustle of leaves, the distant calls of unseen birds, and the gentle, ceaseless murmur of the river itself, a living breath that permeated every fiber of their being. In this quiet, unspoiled sanctuary, the Druids sought a different kind of connection, allowing the ceaseless flow of water, a primal element, to facilitate a deepening of their contemplative practice, guiding them into a profound state of quietude and inner balance. This was a moment for deep rest, for centering, and for profound rejuvenation, essential for a spirit constantly engaged with the intricate workings of both the natural and unseen worlds. Meditation, in its various forms, was not merely a fleeting practice, but a core spiritual discipline for Druids, whether engaged in solitary quietude or as part of communal rituals. It was in these sacred moments that the Druids sought to restore inner strength and healing after the intense focus and energetic exchanges of the day's early engagements, preparing themselves for whatever might follow. The cornerstone of such deep work was breath work, the deliberate regulation of breath to calm the mind and prepare for deeper states of awareness. Imagine the Druids settling into a comfortable position by the river's edge, perhaps seated on a moss-covered stone or reclining on a bed of soft grass. With eyes gently closed, they would begin with the fourfold breath. A silent count, guiding the inhale for a measured 3, holding the breath lightly for another 3, exhaling slowly for 3, and then a soft pause for a final count of 3. This balanced, rhythmic cycle, akin to a gentle pendulum swinging in the stillness, served to settle the mind, clearing it of the day's early concerns and bringing a profound sense of focus. This deliberate practice was not merely a physical exercise, but a spiritual discipline, aiding the mind in its quest to become a powerful tool, a foundation for all other spiritual work. It was a conscious act of attunement, an intentional reconnection with the natural world, fostering a profound sense of the longing within its intricate web. Following this structured rhythm, the breath would gently recede, transitioning into quiet breath. No longer a focal point, the breath would find its own natural rhythm, soft and shallow, allowing the mind to delve into other, deeper meditative work, perhaps a discursive meditation, where thoughts flowed without attachment. In this deep state of quietude, the Druid allowed the flowing spirit, or Owen, to move through them. Owen, a Welsh word pronounced R-O-E-N, was considered the very source of poetic and creative inspiration, and for many Druids, it represented a profound connection with the divine itself. It was the inspiration for the ancient bards as they crafted their stories and songs, and through this meditative practice, the Druids sought to cultivate a receptive mind and spirit, allowing inner balance to settle before the day's demands truly began. The choice of location for this midday contemplation was never arbitrary. For the Druids, the natural world was their temple, and specific elements held particular reverence. Water, in its ceaseless flow, was a powerful conductor of spiritual energy. Rivers, with their ancient currents, springs bubbling forth from the earth, and hidden wells were all considered sacred sources of life and wisdom. These naturally consecrated spaces, often used for ritual dreaming and prophecy, inherently deepened the meditative state, drawing upon the very pulse of the living earth. The cool, flowing water itself was believed to be a conduit for energies, a living mirror reflecting the deeper currents of the unseen world. The Druids preferred to hold their rituals outdoors, creating sacred spaces in the form of circles, often invoking the elements of nature and the deities for protection and blessing. To sit by the river, therefore, was not merely to rest, but to immerse oneself in a profound connection, to drink from the wellspring of ancient wisdom that flowed through the land itself. Yet, meditation for the Druid was not always a static affair, a motionless quietude. Beyond sitting by the water, the Druid might engage in a walking meditation, a dynamic practice that harmonized movement with mindfulness. Imagine them rising, stepping onto a winding forest path beside the river, each deliberate footfall a conscious act of connection. Walking through the woods, intentionally present, allowed for a deeper exploration of personal and spiritual connections to nature. The physical act of walking, when engaged purposefully with practice and intent, transformed into an energetic and spiritual exercise. This was the essence of Druidic being in the world, a profound attunement where breath synced with steps, where the coolness of the inhale was felt in tandem with the rhythm of the body, and where the subtle shifts in the environment, a rustling leaf, the chirping of a bird, the shifting light subtly altered their very breathing. John Michael Greer, a prominent modern Druid scholar, describes various breathing practices: the cleansing breath, the rhythmic breath, the silent breath, and color breathing, all adaptable for walking meditation, each offering different experiences of this embodied Druidic connection. The landscape of the soul, for the Druid, mirrored the sacredness of the outer world. This inner realm, a personal, internal sanctuary known as the inner sacred grove, served as a home base for spiritual exploration. During walking meditation, the Druid might journey inward, visualizing this private grove, perhaps imagining a specific key or symbol to access it, priming the mind for deeper entry. Within this internal sanctuary, they could communicate with their spirit guides or allies, seeking wisdom or healing, or even perform rituals on the inner planes, especially if external conditions prevented outer ceremonies. The details of this inner grove were intensely personal, never to be outwardly revealed, serving as a private source of strength and guidance, sealed by silence. The Druid, in this moving meditation, might listen to the unique song of the sacred place, allowing its story to flow into their receptive mind, like a sponge pulling in the energy of the land, connecting deeply with its spirit. The restorative powers of deep natural settings, particularly forests, were understood instinctively by the ancient Druids, a wisdom that modern research echoes in practices like the Japanese Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. This ancient form of forest bathing allowed the Druid to yield to the multi-layered experience of the forest and river the earthy scent of packed soil, dried herbs, the subtle sounds of awakening life, the touch of weathered stone and aged wood, the play of sunlight and shadow to be profoundly healed, nurtured, and refreshed. The subtle haze of the midday air, the vibrant greens of moss-covered stones and ancient oaks, the earthy browns of rich soil, and the pale blues of the open sky all contributed to a deep sensory immersion, a quiet symphony for the soul. This deliberate slowing down, this contemplative presence amidst the enduring tranquility and timelessness of the natural world, had a profound impact, restoring the Druids' physical, emotional, and mental states. It was a time to quiet the chattering flow of thought that so often fills the mind, allowing a deep, personal connection to settle, fostering an openness to spiritual possibilities that a hurried mind might otherwise foreclose. This midday communion by the river was not merely a respite from the day's activities, but an active, energetic exchange. It was a continuous drawing of strength and insight from the living pulse of the world around them, a conscious act of attunement that fostered a profound sense of belonging within nature's intricate web. For a Druid, The land was a sacred text, and every rustle of leaves, every murmur of the river, every shift in the light offered a new verse to be understood and integrated into their personal cosmology. This deeply personal and experimental nature of Druidry meant that while there were common frameworks and practices, each Druid's relationship with nature was unique, influenced by their local ecosystem, climate, and personal experiences. This continuous pursuit of a personal path, rooted in connection, was celebrated rather than minimized. It was a philosophy where all things are connected and all things are related, fostering an animistic worldview where nature spirits of plants, stones, animals, and natural forces were recognized as individuals with whom to have a relationship. The Druids' daily journey was one of continuous reconnection, recognizing every part of nature as offering teachings, lessons, and necessities. This holistic approach to life blended inner wisdom with outward action, deepening their integrated relationship with the earth. As the sun began its gradual descent from its midday peak, casting subtle, lengthening shadows, the Druids' period of intense meditation would gently draw to a close. Recentered, re-energized, and deeply attuned to the subtle energies of the natural world, they would carry this profound sense of tranquility and deep connection throughout the remainder of their day. Whether it involved further counsel to their community, continued resolution of disputes, or simply living in harmonious rhythm with the living earth, the insights gained by the river would infuse every action with purpose and presence. This quiet, meditative interlude was the very essence of their ancient path, a timeless dance between the human spirit and the living world, ensuring the enduring flow of wisdom from the depths of the earth to the very hearts of their people, a silent, profound rhythm that resonated across the ages. Chapter 7. News of Roman scouts in the distance. As the sun, having traversed its midday zenith, began its gradual, inexorable journey towards the western horizon, its golden light, once bright and encompassing, softened, stretching into long, lengthening shadows across the ancient, verdant landscape. This shift in the celestial rhythm, a gentle cue for the natural world to transition towards repose, brought with it a different kind of shadow for the Druids, one that stretched not from the sun, but from a distant, burgeoning power. The tranquil hum of their daily life, so deeply attuned to the cycles of nature and the timeless currents of ancient wisdom, was increasingly touched by a growing disquiet, the encroaching, relentless expansion of the Roman Empire. The air, once vibrant with the energy of midday, now carried subtle whispers, carried perhaps on the evening breeze, of a threat far beyond the familiar forests and rivers. These were not the tales of local skirmishes or tribal disputes, but a stark reminder of an inevitable clash between two profoundly different worlds, each holding utterly distinct understandings of power, conquest, and the sacred. News in this ancient land traveled not through scrolls or pronouncements, but through the subtle network of human connection, the quiet exchange between traders on a forest path, the hushed words of a returning scout, the worried glances shared around a communal fire. Whispers of Roman scouts in the distance would have begun to ripple through the Druid community, a subtle, yet potent, disruption to the harmonious rhythm of their days. Imagine the Druid, perhaps returning from their contemplative time by the river, sensing a shift in the communal energy, a quiet anxiety hanging in the air like the evening mist. This was not yet the thunder of legions, nor the clatter of Roman armor, but the first, unsettling murmur of an unstoppable tide, a threat that sought to reorder their very existence. The Romans, in their imperial expansion, viewed the Druids with a complex mixture of fascination and strategic apprehension. To Roman eyes, these Celtic spiritual leaders presented a perplexing dichotomy. On one hand, they were perceived as figures of profound learning and pious devotion, drawing a certain intellectual intrigue from Roman scholars. Cicero, a contemporary of Caesar, spoke of meeting Diviciacus, a Gallic druid who possessed great knowledge of the natural world and practiced divination through augury. Diodorus Siculus also characterized druids as philosophers and men learned in religious affairs who were held in high honor. Strabo, in his writings, further distinguished them as those who studied moral philosophy and were considered the most just of men entrusted with judicial decisions. Such accounts painted a picture of a sophisticated, intellectual class worthy of respect even by their conquerors. Indeed, Caesar himself, in his Commentarii de Bello Gallico, described the Druids as one of the two most important social groups in Gaul, alongside the nobles, responsible for divine worship, sacrifices, divination, and judicial procedures. He acknowledged their role as judges in almost all disputes, public and private, and their power to excommunicate individuals from religious festivals, the severe penalty that rendered them social outcasts. He even noted their exemption from military service and taxes, further underscoring their unique and powerful position within Celtic society. Yet, this admiration was inextricably intertwined with a deep-seated wariness and strategic apprehension on the part of Rome. The very power and influence that made the Druids intellectually interesting to the Romans also made them a formidable obstacle to imperial ambitions. Julius Caesar, whose writings provide the most detailed, albeit highly biased, early account of the Druids, found it politically expedient to portray them in a dual light, simultaneously learned and pious, yet also barbaric and in dire need of Roman civilization and rule. This narrative served as powerful propaganda for his campaigns, painting a picture of Celtic lands as a society both worth conquering for its potential and in dire need of subjugation due to its supposed savagery. He needed to justify his wars of conquest and pay off his massive debts, making such a portrayal particularly useful for his Roman audience. The Roman strategy against the Druids was clear and brutal, to eradicate the very foundations of their religion and sever their line of knowledge and tradition. The deep influence the Druids held over Celtic society, their unique privileges, and their ability to unite diverse tribes through a shared spiritual and legal framework made them a formidable potential source of rebellion against Roman authority. Caesar, in his writings, even suggested that Britain was the center of Druidic study and the place where their rule of life originated, which, while potentially an exaggeration to underscore the perceived threat, highlights their perceived strategic importance. The Roman emperors, notably Tiberius and Claudius, later introduced laws specifically banning Druidic practices, aiming to suppress their religious and political influence entirely. Pliny the Elder even lauded these bans, believing they would put an end to practices like human sacrifice, a claim heavily used in Roman propaganda. The most devastating blow to the Druids, extensively documented by Roman historians, came with the attack on Anglesey, Mona, an island off the northwest coast of modern-day Wales, in 60 CE. Tacitus, a renowned Roman historian, provides a vivid and chilling description of this event in his Annals. He recounts how the Roman governor, Suetonius Paulinus, led his legions across the narrow strait, utterly determined to crush the island's resistance and eradicate the Druid presence. The Roman legionaries, hardened by countless campaigns, were initially struck with awe and terror upon landing. They beheld a band of Druids, both men and women, hands uplifted to the sky, pouring forth terrible imprecations and curses upon the heads of the invaders. Tacitus described these Druids as having dark and dismal groves, and notes that their appearance terrified our soldiers, who had never seen such a thing before. This portrayal, however, was intentionally negative, casting them as ignorant savages to fit the broader Roman narrative that sought to justify their brutal actions. Despite the Druids' powerful spiritual presence and the initial fear they invoked, Roman military might and perceived courage, according to Tacitus, eventually prevailed. The sacred groves of Mona, which were central to Druidic religious practices and revered as sanctuaries, were laid waste, cut down and burned, and the Druids who resided there were massacred, dealing a profound, devastating blow to the heart of their religion. This act was not merely a military victory, it was a deliberate and symbolic act of cultural destruction, aiming to shatter the spiritual and intellectual backbone of Celtic society. One of the most controversial and fiercely debated aspects of ancient Druidic practice remains the question of human sacrifice. This debate is largely fueled by the highly biased Roman accounts, which frequently depict the Celts as barbaric and prone to such horrific rituals. Julius Caesar, for instance, claimed that Druids were administrators of human sacrifice, often involving criminals who were then burned in a wicker man. However, modern scholarship largely views these assertions with deep skepticism, recognizing them as Roman propaganda designed to justify their conquests and demonize the Celtic peoples. Historians argue that such claims served a clear political agenda to portray the Celts as savage and in need of Roman civilization. The archaeological evidence for widespread human sacrifice among ancient Celts is remarkably scarce, and existing finds that have been interpreted as such often have multiple, less violent interpretations. Serious scholars find little reliable proof to support the idea that it was a common practice. It is widely considered that any such practices, if they occurred at all, were likely not as prevalent as portrayed by the Romans, and may have been judicial killings of criminals or war captives rather than religious sacrifices in the Roman sense. The bog bodies, for example, often cited as evidence, have various possible explanations for their demise, not exclusively ritualistic killing. Therefore, within the true, inner circle of Druidic practice, the focus was on spiritual communion, divination using sacred tools like the ogham, and channeling inspiration through creative expression, rather than the horrific spectacles so sensationally depicted by their Roman conquerors. The ogham, a Celtic tree alphabet used for divination and as a mnemonic device, was a common tool for seeking insights. This constant, underlying threat of Roman encroachment would have undeniably shaped the Druids' existence, infusing their daily rituals and philosophical contemplations with a deeper sense of urgency and preservation. Their adherence to oral tradition, the rigorous 20-year training period for apprentices, and their deliberate choice not to commit their sacred wisdom to writing were all aspects that, while perhaps born of ancient doctrine, also served as a powerful form of resistance against cultural absorption. This insistence on memory ensured that their knowledge remained potent and revered, and that it could not be easily seized or corrupted by foreign powers. The Druids' power stemmed directly from their knowledge, which was kept exclusive through this oral transmission. They were the keepers of ancient Celtic wisdom, history, and culture, and their intricate understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and natural philosophy, alongside their legal and advisory roles, formed the bedrock of Celtic society. They were the very fabric of the social and spiritual life of the Celts, often holding more sway than kings and chieftains, capable even of intervening to stop battles. Their belief in the immortality and transmigration of the soul, that souls do not perish, but pass from one body to another after death, was a cornerstone of their philosophy, a doctrine that cast aside the fear of death and was believed to be the greatest incentive to valor in battle. This profound philosophical bedrock, combined with their deep, animistic connection to nature, revering sacred groves, rivers, and springs as conduits of spiritual energy allowed them to maintain cohesion among diverse Celtic tribes, a formidable cultural unity in the face of external threats. As the sun dipped further, painting the sky with the fiery hues of twilight, the tension in the air, subtle yet palpable, would serve as a constant reminder of the world beyond their sacred groves. Yet, even in the shadow of Roman might, the Druids' commitment to their ancient path remained unwavering. This deep reverence for nature, their ancestral myths, and their unique way of life, however, became even more intensely guarded, often forced into secrecy from the watchful eyes of Roman scouts. It was through this quiet resilience, this continuous flow of wisdom passed from generation to generation, that the very essence of Druidry endured, a silent, profound rhythm that resonated across the ages, a testament to a people who understood that true power lay not in conquest, but in connection. Their rituals, their teachings, their very way of being became acts of profound preservation, ensuring that the light of their ancient wisdom would never truly be extinguished, only hidden, waiting for the mists to clear. Chapter 8. Nightfall, a secret ceremony in the stone circle. As the last vestiges of twilight surrendered to the encroaching dark, a profound stillness began to settle across the ancient Celtic lands, a silence deeper than mere absence of sound. It was the silence of a world holding its breath, a world preparing for the unseen rhythms of nightfall. The air, once holding the day's lingering warmth, now carried a distinct chill, scented with damp earth, the rich, peaty aroma of distant bogs, and the subtle, wild fragrance of moss and ancient trees. Above, the heavens, slowly revealing their countless stars, became a vast, inky canvas, hinting at the cosmic tapestry that governed the very lives of those who walked this green isle. It was into this deep, enveloping darkness that a small, trusted gathering of Druids would step, moving with deliberate quietude towards a sacred place, a venerable stone circle. These majestic stone circles, standing in silent sentinel against the turning centuries, were far older than the Druids themselves, their origins stretching back millennia, indeed, over 7,000 years before the known emergence of this wise and ancient order. They were not built by the Druids, yet they became integral to their practices, adopted and understood for their profound astronomical alignments, which could chart the precise passage of seasons, mark solstices and equinoxes, and it was even believed, predict the celestial dance of eclipses. Such knowledge, gleaned from the very movements of the cosmos, bestowed immense prestige upon those who possessed it. These megalithic structures, often shrouded in mist and whispering winds, were seen not merely as stone, but as living conduits of ancient energies, offering both wisdom and healing to those who could attune themselves to their timeless pulse. The choice of such a site for a nocturnal ceremony was never arbitrary. It was a deliberate act, especially potent during key astronomical events, or the great Celtic festivals like Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, and Lughnasadh, times when the veil between this world and the other world was believed to be at its most permeable. In the flickering light of carefully tended torchlight, which cast dancing shadows against the rough-hewn surfaces of the standing stones, the Druids gathered. They wore simple, rough woolen cloaks or woven tartans, practical attire that offered warmth against the chill of the night and connected them to the natural fibers of their world. This was not a public spectacle, but a deeply intimate and secret ceremony, a communal act of faith hidden from the watchful eyes of any Roman scouts who might be lurking in the distant landscape. The Romans, in their relentless expansion, viewed the Druids with a complex blend of fascination and strategic apprehension. Figures like Julius Caesar, whose accounts provide the most detailed, though often biased, early insights into the Druids, were intrigued by their learned and pious nature, yet deeply wary of their immense power within Gaulish society. It is at this juncture that a crucial, an often misunderstood aspect of ancient Druidic practice must be gently unfolded. While Roman writers like Caesar famously claimed that Druids were administrators of human sacrifice, even depicting gruesome scenes of criminals burned within wicker effigies, modern scholarship regards these assertions with considerable skepticism. Many historians propose that such claims were, in essence, Roman propaganda, strategically crafted to portray the Celts as barbaric and to justify the brutal conquest and subjugation of their lands. This narrative served a dual purpose. It made the Celtic lands appear both worthy of inclusion in the vast Roman Empire and simultaneously in dire need of Roman civilization and rule. Archaeological evidence that definitively supports widespread human sacrifice among ancient Celts remains scarce, and where finds exist, they often lend themselves to multiple interpretations, with serious scholars finding little reliable proof to substantiate such common practices. Indeed, if any such practices did occur, they were more likely judicial killings, punishments for criminals, rather than religious sacrifices in the Roman sense, which sought to appease deities through bloodshed. Within the hallowed confines of this secret nocturnal ceremony, therefore, the true focus was far removed from such horrific spectacles. Instead, it was a profound pursuit of spiritual communion, a sacred exchange with the energies of the land and the wisdom of the cosmos, channeled through practices of divination and creative expression. The ceremony would likely begin with the collective invocation of Oren, a Welsh word that transcends simple translation, often understood as flowing spirit or breath. For the Druids, Oren was the very source of poetic inspiration and a direct conduit to the divine itself. Its invocation, often through the communal recitation of the word itself, pronounced ROEN, was a gentle yet powerful summoning, directing this profound force towards collective healing, deep divination, and vibrant creative performance in the forms of music and poetry. This was their Eisteddfod, a sacred gathering where creative gifts were shared and celebrated, empowering and healing each participant. The soft strains of a wooden flute or the rhythmic thrum of an animal hide drum might accompany the chanting, creating an ethereal soundscape that resonated with the ancient stones and the souls gathered beneath the moon. Following the flow of Owen, the Druids would turn their attention to the subtle whispers of the future, engaging in practices of divination. Central among these was the use of ogham sticks, a Celtic tree alphabet that served not only as a means of foretelling, but also as a mnemonic device for their vast oral lore. Each ogham symbol, named for the sacred trees, held layers of meaning, connecting the tangible world of the forest to the intangible realms of insight and prophecy. A druid might cast these carved sticks onto a sacred cloth laid upon the moss-covered earth within the circle, their eyes keenly interpreting the patterns they formed, seeking guidance for communal decisions, perhaps concerning the coming harvest, the movements of tribes, or strategies in the face of Roman encroachment. The rustle of dry leaves underfoot, the faint scent of damp earth, and the cool touch of the night air would deepen the immersive experience as each symbol revealed its silent message. Beyond the visible signs, the Druids placed immense significance on dream interpretation, viewing dreams as sacred gateways between the waking world and other, normally unseen, realms. They believed that during sleep, the soul could transcend the ordinary limits of time and space, venturing into the other worlds to encounter spirits, ancestors, or even the gods themselves. These nocturnal visions were not dismissed as mere fantasies. They were considered real experiences in alternate realities, capable of revealing insights into past lives, future possibilities, or divine plans, offering invaluable guidance for personal and communal decision-making. The Druids often sought these meaningful dreams purposefully, engaging in rigorous preparations, such as fasting for ritual purification, or sensory isolation to heighten their inner awareness. They might meditate with sacred plants, with herbs like mugwort believed to stimulate psychic powers and enhance dream recall. Sleeping in consecrated locations within sacred groves or near sacred waters was also a practice believed to induce clearer, more potent visions from the gods and ancestors. The insights gleaned from such profound nocturnal journeys formed a vital source of wisdom, enabling the Druids to anticipate challenges, discern blessings, and guide their people through the intricate tapestry of fate and destiny. The gentle murmur of their chants, the subtle shift of the moon's light across the circle, and the shared, silent anticipation would all contribute to a collective state conducive to such deep spiritual engagement. Underpinning these sacred practices was the Druids' profound philosophical understanding of the cosmos and the human soul. They were considered philosophers investigating obscure and profound subjects, and were believed to espouse the doctrine of the immortality and transmigration of the soul, the belief that souls do not perish, but pass from one body to another after a fixed number of years. This core belief, by casting aside the fear of death, was held to be the greatest incentive to valor in battle. This cyclical view of life, death, and rebirth, an unending spiral rather than a linear progression, deeply informed their worldview and their ceremonies. Their discussions would often delve into the movements of the stars, the immense size of the universe and the earth, the very nature of things, and the power and majesty of the immortal gods, emphasizing their role as custodians of a vast body of oral law spanning law, history, philosophy, and astronomy. The oak tree, an ancient symbol of wisdom and strength, held particular importance, often associated with their sacred groves and rituals, a silent witness to their enduring connection to the living earth. This nocturnal gathering was far more than a mere ritual. It was a powerful affirmation of their traditions, a communal act of faith that profoundly bound them together. In a world increasingly shadowed by the relentless advance of the Roman Empire, it was a means of strengthening their collective resolve, a reassertion of their deep reverence for nature, their ancestral myths, and their unique way of life. It was a deliberate, secretive act, performed away from the prying eyes of Roman legions, aimed at preserving the very essence of Druidry in the face of inevitable, monumental change. The quiet dignity of their movements, the soft cadence of their voices, and the shared conviction in their sacred work created an unbreakable bond, nourishing their spirits and reaffirming their identity. As the ceremony concluded, the last embers of the ritual fire glowed faintly in the stone circle, casting a warm, orange pulse against the cool grey of the ancient stones. The Druids would then transition into a period of deep introspection and silent vigil before the reawakening of the world, a time known as the quiet breath. This was not a passive waiting, but an active integration of the insights and energies absorbed during the night's work, allowing the spirit of the rituals and dreams to permeate their very being, restoring inner strength and spiritual balance. This silent anticipation of dawn was, in essence, a recommitment to the core virtues of Druidry: courage, truth, honor, fidelity, discipline, hospitality, industriousness, self-reliance, and perseverance, preparing them to face the new day with renewed clarity and purpose, deeply rooted in the ancient wisdom they cherished and protected. The gentle promise of a new dawn, barely hinted at on the eastern horizon, would soon illuminate the sacred grove once more, marking the seamless flow of existence and the timeless dance between the human spirit and the living world. Chapter 9: Dreams and Visions of the Future. As the last embers of the communal fire whispered their final farewells in the sacred circle, and the echoes of shared wisdom faded into the embracing night, the Druid would turn their gaze inward, their focus shifting to a realm even more profound, even more mysterious: the potent domain of dreams and visions. This was not merely a passive reception of fleeting images born of slumber, but rather an active, meticulously cultivated art, an indispensable aspect of their being, integral to their esteemed role as interpreters of divine secrets and trusted advisors to their community. For the ancient Druids, the nocturnal journey into dreams was a profound extension of their daily communion with the natural world, a continuation of their relentless quest for understanding the intricate tapestry of existence. They understood, with a wisdom that transcended the mundane, that dreams were far more than simple reflections of the waking world. They were, in their profound estimation, fascinating gateways between our waking world and other worlds that we can't normally see. These ethereal passages offered precious glimpses into divine secrets, a direct line to realms beyond ordinary perception, where the boundaries between the corporeal and the spiritual gracefully blurred. The visions received through this sacred gateway could manifest in a myriad of ways, sometimes arriving unsolicited, as unexpected flashes of profound insight. At other times, they were actively anticipated, a wisdom patiently awaited, and most remarkably, they could even be intentionally induced through a series of rigorous, dedicated methods. This deliberate engagement with the dream world highlights the deeply personal and experimental nature of Druidry, a path where the landscape of the soul mirrored the sacredness of the outer world. To facilitate these crucial nocturnal journeys, the Druids sought out and designated sacred spaces for ritual dreaming. These were not arbitrary locations, but places imbued with a unique spiritual resonance, chosen for their inherent power and their ability to act as conduits to the other world. Stone circles, those ancient, silent sentinels of the land, the hushed, cavernous depths of cave sanctuaries, echoing with primal energies, the verdant, secluded enclaves of forest groves, where the ancient trees stood as living pillars of wisdom, or tranquil areas near life-giving water, all served as consecrated locations believed to facilitate clearer, more direct visions from the gods and the venerable ancestors. It was in such hallowed ground that a druid might choose to lay down, seeking the wisdom that only the dream realm could impart. The choice of location was paramount, for the very essence of these places was thought to enhance the clarity and prophetic power of the dream state. One can imagine the stillness of a forest glade under a starlit sky, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, as the druid prepared to cross the threshold of consciousness, inviting the deeper currents of insight to flow. The methods employed by the ancient druids to induce meaningful dreams were as varied as they were rigorous, demanding profound discipline and a deep understanding of mind and body. Fasting for ritual purification was a common practice, a deliberate act of physical and spiritual cleansing intended to heighten sensitivity and clarity. By abstaining from food, the druid would seek to purify their vessel, making it more receptive to the subtle energies of the unseen realms. Alongside this, sensory isolation was sometimes employed, a deliberate withdrawal from external stimuli designed to quiet the incessant chatter of the waking mind and allow inner awareness to flourish. Imagine the profound silence within a secluded hut or a deep cave, broken only by the gentle rhythm of one's own breath, a deliberate shedding of the outer world to embrace the inner landscape. Meditation with sacred plants was also a common and powerful practice. Certain herbs were believed to possess properties that could enhance dream recall or subtly alter consciousness, facilitating visionary experiences that bridged the gap between worlds. For instance, mugwort was widely thought to stimulate psychic powers, and fascinating traces of this very herb have been found on ancient drinking cups, strongly suggesting its use in such contexts for its visionary properties. It is crucial to note, however, that while such practices were part of ancient druidic traditions, the use of mind-altering herbs for these purposes in modern contexts is strongly not recommended due to their often poisonous or dangerous nature. The modern pursuit of altered states of consciousness is better served by safer, internal practices. Beyond substances, the Druids practiced dream incubation, a technique where individuals would intensely focus on specific questions or intentions before falling asleep, seeking symbolic answers or direct guidance in their nocturnal journeys. This focused intent would serve as a spiritual compass, directing the dream experience towards specific insights. Preparations for such deep work were often ceremonial, involving specific prayers and chants offered before sleep, invoking the desired guidance or protection. A druid, perhaps wrapped in a rough woolen cloak, might sit in the dim light of a sacred grove, repeating a silent invocation of Owen, the flowing spirit of poetic inspiration, inviting it to guide their nocturnal quest for insight. The quiet, rhythmic recitation would attune their mind, preparing it for the subtle language of dreams. The timing of these dream quests was also considered crucial, with certain periods of the year being deemed particularly auspicious for prophetic dreaming. The major Celtic festivals marked these liminal transitions, when the veil between the ordinary world and the other world was believed to be at its thinnest. Dreams experienced during these potent seasonal shifts, or within the confines of sacred spaces like stone circles or groves, were held to be exceptionally significant, carrying a heightened resonance and deeper prophetic weight. The Druid, acutely aware of these cosmic rhythms, would align their spiritual practices with these natural cycles, seeking to harness the potent energies of these transitional periods for clearer insights. Once the visions were received, their interpretation was a crucial skill. The dream language was often symbolic, a complex tapestry of imagery, emotions, and narratives that required the Druids' trained expertise to unravel and translate. Their deep knowledge of the natural world, plants, animals, celestial movements, and seasonal cycles provided a rich symbolic framework through which these visions were understood. For example, a dream featuring a salmon might signify profound wisdom, while the appearance of a bull could symbolize bravery or aggression in battle. The flight patterns and calls of birds were also meticulously observed and interpreted for prophetic insights, a widely used method for discerning future events. The ability to accurately decode these complex symbols and translate mystical experiences into actionable guidance for the community was a cornerstone of their authority and influence. This sophisticated interpretive capacity allowed them to offer counsel on vital matters, such as decisions concerning migration, impending warfare, or significant communal undertakings, ensuring that the collective actions of their people were aligned with the perceived will of the divine. The Druids' approach to dreams and visions underscored the depth and intensely personal nature of their quest for insight. It was not a rigid, dogmatic system, but an individual journey into the inner realm, a direct spiritual experience achieved through cultivated states of consciousness. This emphasis on individual experience and inner wisdom was a hallmark of their tradition, fostering a profound sense of presence and stillness. The daily breathwork techniques, such as the 3 deep breaths, connecting with earth, sea, and sky, and the fourfold breath regulating inhale, hold, exhale, and pause to an equal count, honed their minds for this deeper work. These practices, alongside the transition to a quiet breath for sustained contemplative states, were foundational to their ability to engage with the subtle energies of the dream world. They viewed the mind as a powerful tool to be trained daily through meditation, which was seen as the bedrock for all other spiritual work. The insights gained from these nocturnal journeys were a vital source of wisdom for the Druid, enabling them to foresee challenges, divine blessings, and guide their people through the intricate tapestry of fate and destiny. the belief in the immortality and transmigration of the soul, a cardinal doctrine for the Druids, infused their understanding of dreams with an additional layer of meaning. If the soul could journey beyond the confines of the body, then dreams were a natural extension of this otherworldly travel. This philosophical underpinning allowed for a nuanced understanding of the dream experience, from mundane reflections to profound interactions with ancestral spirits and divine beings. Thus, as the soft light of dawn began to paint the eastern horizon, the Druid would emerge from their night's vigil, their mind enriched by the silent dialogues of the dream world. The quietude of the pre-dawn hours, a sacred liminal space, allowed for the profound integration of the night's insights, ensuring that the wisdom gleaned from dreams settled deep within their being. This profound understanding, drawn from both the outer landscapes of nature and the inner realms of consciousness, solidified their role as vital intermediaries, interpreters of the subtle whispers of the cosmos, guiding their communities with foresight and spiritual clarity. It was a testament to a way of life deeply attuned to the unseen, where the rhythms of sleep and wakefulness were but different paths to the wellspring of ancient wisdom. Chapter 10: The Silent Vigil Before Dawn. Our journey now leads us into the hushed stillness following a night of profound ceremony, as a lone druid, keeper of ancient lore and mediator between realms, enters their most sacred of vigils. The air is thick with a profound quietude, a silence that resonates not with emptiness, but with the subtle, intricate hum of a world holding its breath before the coming light. This is a moment of deep introspection, a final, essential act of attunement before the day's demands begin to stir. Imagine, if you will, the fading embers of a ceremonial fire within the ancient stone circle, their orange glow now just a faint pulse against the encroaching dark, casting long, dancing shadows that slowly recede into the deepest pockets of the grove. The cool night air still carries the faintest hint of wood smoke and damp earth, a scent that speaks of enduring rituals and a timeless connection to the very fabric of nature. This is not a rushed departure, but a graceful, deliberate transition from the communal rites to a deeply personal communion, a quiet unfolding into the wisdom gleaned from the night's shared mysteries. The visual tapestry is one of muted blues and soft grays, illuminated only by the faint, silver blue moonlight that occasionally filters through low, drifting clouds, just enough to highlight the moss-covered stones and the skeletal outlines of towering oaks. It is a scene rendered in hyper-realistic detail, yet softened by painterly touches, a tranquil, dreamy effect that encourages the mind to drift and settle. The Druid, their rough woolen cloak or woven tartan now a deeper shadow against the pre-dawn gloom, stands or sits with a quietude that seems to draw the very stillness of the grove into their being. This isn't merely physical stillness. It is a profound centering, a deliberate slowing of time and space, allowing the chattering flow of thought to quiet and the mind to become a receptive vessel. This is the essence of druidic being in the world, an artful immersion that feels akin to a slow kayak ride down a meandering stream, where every ripple and current of existence is felt and understood without effort or resistance. At the heart of this vigil lies the practice of quiet breath, a return to a natural, gentle rhythm of inhalation and exhalation after the more structured breathwork of earlier rituals. There is no counting now, no deliberate regulation. The breath simply flows, easy and natural, allowing the druid to delve into deeper meditative states, where the breath itself ceases to be the focal point. This simple yet powerful technique serves as a profound clearing meditation, a gateway that prepares the mind for even deeper spiritual work, establishing a resonant frequency with the sacred space they inhabit. It is in these moments that the energy of the night's rituals and the insights from the dream realm are quietly, deeply integrated, permeating every cell of their being, aligning their inner landscape with the serene outer world. The aim is a restoration of inner strength and healing, a journey back to spiritual balance after the intense focus and energetic exchanges of the secret ceremony. As the mist clings low to the grassy hills, swirling gently around ancient stones and through moss-covered forests, the Druid's senses are not merely observing, but absorbing the subtle energies of the nascent dawn. The faint chirping of awakening birds is not just a sound, but a pulse of life, a gentle reminder of the interconnected web of existence. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of the wind through the branches, is a message, an omen to be felt and understood. This profound connection with nature is not merely a preference, but the very foundation of their spiritual path, deeply tied to the ideas of place and the living earth. In this state of deep contemplative immersion, the Druid often journeys inward, to their inner sacred grove, a sanctuary that is as real and profound within their consciousness as any physical clearing open to the sky. This is their personal home base for spiritual exploration, a safe, internal space accessible only to them and their trusted spirit guides. Within this inner realm, they might revisit visions or communicate with their spirit allies, seeking deeper wisdom or preparing for the day's tasks, whether they involve healing or divination for the community. The details of this inner grove are intensely personal, never to be outwardly revealed, for maintaining silence about this inner sanctuary preserves its magic and ensures its sacred protection from any external, uninvited influences. It is a private source of strength and guidance, a testament to the deeply personal and experimental nature of Druidry. The silent vigil also becomes a time for profound philosophical reflection, deepening the Druids' understanding of the cosmos and their place within it. They reflect on the cardinal doctrine of their teachings, the immortality and transmigration of the soul. This core belief, that souls do not perish but pass from one body to another after a fixed number of years, fundamentally shapes their perspective, casting aside the fear of death and serving as the greatest incentive to valor. The Druid contemplates the intricate dance of life, death, and rebirth, seeing it not as a linear progression, but as a never-ending spiral where consciousness transcends the limits of time and space. Their reflections extend to the stars and their intricate movements, the immense size of the cosmos and the earth, and the fundamental order of nature itself. They delve into the power and majesty of the immortal gods, connecting the wisdom gleaned from celestial observations with the divine forces that animate all of existence. As the quiet hours stretch on, the Druid considers the unfolding trajectory of the Druid tradition itself, its potential and enduring legacy in the face of external pressures. They are keenly aware of the encroaching shadow of the Roman Empire, a force that views their ancient ways with a complex mixture of fascination and strategic apprehension. Julius Caesar, whose accounts offer a detailed yet biased glimpse into their world, recognized the Druids as a significant power within Gaulish society, their influence extending beyond mere spirituality to encompass judicial and political roles. The Romans' systematic campaign to suppress the Druids, including the destruction of their sacred sites like Anglesey, aimed to sever the ancient line of knowledge and tradition that bound the Celtic peoples together. The Druid, in this silent vigil, contemplates the enduring importance of rebuilding human nature connections in their daily lives, a continuous tapestry woven with reverence for nature, dedication to wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to their unique spiritual path. This introspective period is also a vital moment for the Druid to recommit to the core philosophies and virtues that define their path. These are not abstract concepts, but a living, breathing code that guides every action: courage, truth, honor, fidelity, discipline, hospitality, industriousness, self-reliance, and perseverance. Family values are strongly emphasized, alongside an unshakable loyalty to one social group, a concept encapsulated in the powerful notion of frith. The Druid ensures that their inner compass is aligned with these enduring principles, preparing them to face the new day with renewed strength and unclouded clarity. This profound commitment to their ancestral wisdom and ethical conduct is what grants them their revered status, even in the face of immense external pressures. As the faintest hint of morning light begins to appear on the eastern horizon, painting the sky with tender strokes of pale gold and soft rose, the Druid's silent vigil draws to a close. The last wisps of mist dissolve into the burgeoning light, revealing the vibrant greens and earthy browns of the sacred grove, now bathed in the gentle warmth of dawn. The air fills with the fresh scent of dew-kissed leaves and the full, melodic calls of awakening birds, signifying life's triumphant return. This cycle of awakening, deep ritual, profound connection, and quiet reflection is the very essence of their ancient path, a timeless dance between the human spirit and the living world. It ensures the enduring flow of wisdom, passed down not through written scrolls, but through the vibrant, living memory of the Druids themselves, from the depths of the earth to the hearts of their people, a silent, profound rhythm that has resonated across the ages and continues to echo into our own time. The Druid rises, grounded and recentered, ready to embrace the day, their spirit replenished, their connection to the sacred unbroken.